Welcome, ladies and gents, back to another Yorkshire episode, and welcome to this lovely idyllic spot here in Nottingham. We are, of course, at Attenborough's Nature Reserve ahead of today's game against Nottingham Forest, which is our final game of the season. Sadly, I know, but it's been a lovely journey so far and a very good season here in the Championship. We was expected to be battling down near the relegation zone and find ourselves in the upper echelons of the table. I just want to take a moment, though, to thank everyone who's joined us, whether it's for one singular second popping into a video or you've watched the series all the way through thus far. We are going to be continuing our journey when I come back from my holidays, but I don't know whether that's going to be here on YouTube or over on Twitch. Regardless, we are going to finish things up, so I appreciate you for joining us. Hopefully you join us for the rest of this journey, but without further ado, let's head on in and let's catch up on our singular catch-up game against Sunderland. Today's only catch-up match sees us welcome 12th place Sunderland to York, and after injuring our big Geffy meat in the first half, the Black Cats then proceeded to be even more dirty as they hit us not once but twice with their brown. And so, ladies and gents, with our catch-up game out of the way, it is of course time to head on into the notebook, and as you can see, we are going to fly through these rather quickly because we do of course have the season review to do after today's game. So first of all, York Mental Month in review. There's only one person, and that was Pedder. Pedder has developed the trait Dictates Tempo, which is nice to see. Now, I have been grassed up to the media. Have a little guess at who grassed me up about me having to go at them for the terrible performance against Sunderland. Well, it was only Jose Ayrton, yes, the youngster, the Brazilian youngster I brought in. Not happy with him. Not happy at all. Who knows? Maybe I'll drop him for this final game of the season and we'll never see him again. No, I'll probably use him still. Anyways, next up is Joe Allen. He's got an injury and, well, it's for 1 to 3 days. He's got a tight groin that he picked up in training. We then have Ian Hall also injured. He sustained a bruised knee in training. I don't know how long that one is for. How long is that for, Mr. Hall? Okay, he's got a day left on that. I'm not sure if we're a day out from the match. It's the 9th. Saturday? Well, probably not. It's probably match day today. Hopefully we've got a Sunday fixture. Who knows? We'll find out as we head forward. Next up is Klein drops lack of football concern. So, after speaking to him, he's no longer concerned about his lack of game time because he's been playing on that left-hand side where we have an injury, of course, to Brandon Fleming. And, well, joining our injuries, as I mentioned, they injured our big Geffy meat. Sunderland, how disgusting. You injured our big Geffy meat and then you put your brown all over us. What on earth are you doing? Filthy. Big Geffy meat got a rather lengthy injury. He sustained a broken lower leg of all things. They broke his leg. Come on, man. You broke his leg. 4 to 6 months. So we're definitely going to need to find a replacement for him up front the next season. That is for sure. And then Adiapan is hotly tipped for the Sky Bet Championship Player of the Year. The man, the myth, the legend, who is nagging for a brand new contract. Of course, he's going to be asking for quite a bit of money if he wins that. So perhaps maybe we just get in there a bit earlier before he wins the Sky Bet Championship Player of the Year and doesn't nag us for more money because he's got that. Anyways, enough rambling from me. It is, of course, time to crack on with today's game. So, without further ado, let's head on over to the stadium. And so, friends, match day is finally upon us, and there's actually quite a lot to play for, although in our game, not so much. We are battling between falling 9th or down to 11th. Anywhere in between those two spots is where we shall finish here today. But there are some games that we should probably keep an eye on. Bournemouth can lose the title if Fulham are able to pick a victory and they lose. Fulham are actually away. Yes, they're away to Sunderland. Bournemouth, though, is playing already relegated Portsmouth. Yes, Portsmouth and Swansea are already relegated to League One. QPR and Peterborough, though, are still battling for safety. So Peterborough is at home to away from home to Swansea, which will be a difficult clash against already relegated Swansea, as I've already previously stated. QPR, though, got an even harder game. They've got Bristol City away, who are up in 13th. So there's going to be a little bit of relegation scrap going on. I think Peterborough is probably going to be the one who survives. It's probably going to be QPR, Portsmouth and Swansea to go down. Then in terms of the playoff picture, well, Blackburn, Leeds and Reading can all fight out for that one spot. So currently Blackburn Blackburn holding it is versing Millwall away from home. This is a weird trend. They're all away from home. Leeds United is not, though. Leeds is at home to Ipswich, but Ipswich is all the way up in 5th. And then Reading is taking on Luton at home. Okay, out of those three, Reading has the easiest fixture. Unfortunate for them, though, they're 2 points behind Blackburn, whereas Leeds can squeeze in with a draw. But anyways, that is an interesting way about that one spot. Where that goes, who knows? Middlesbrough can also sneak out to the playoff pitch and go to the automatic promotion if Fulham lose and they win. So, where on earth is Middlesbrough? They are away at Sheffield Wednesday, so they've got a good opportunity to do that, but they do need Fulham to slip up against Sunderland. But enough ranting from me. What's the weather like and what's the turnout for today's game? Well, we're going to apply the opposition instructions. We're suggested to go from a balanced to a cautious mentality. We're versing 9th in the league. We're going to stay balanced. 29,452 tickets have been sold for this final game of the season out of 30,576. Very good pitch condition, drizzly, 16 degrees Celsius and calm. And speaking of pitch condition, we of course will have an even better pitch condition going forward next season, which will hopefully allow us to thrive a little bit better. We've got talented players. Unfortunately, though, we've been neglecting the ground a little bit. The pitch is in rather poor condition. Now, I have the option to bring in Ian Hall. As you can see, his fitness is coming back, but considering it's final game of the season, we're not really playing for anything. I don't want to risk his injury, so we're not going to do that. Similarly, even though we're just playing basically for pride and perhaps a tiny little bit of cash for being higher up in the league, we're actually not going to bring on the 2 retirees. We, of course, have Norwood retiring at the end of the season, and we also have Joe Allen, who will be retiring end of the season. I was tempted to put them on the bench, but I decided, no, we're going to fight till the very end, try and get as many points as possible. So our team trying to do exactly that is George in goal, the backline of Klein, Terry, Adiapan, and Shakin Stevens. On the wings is Jose Ayrton, who annoyed me last time out. Williams, Byers in between, and our central midfielders are Rowley and Sorensen. Folks, of course, is covering up front for our big girthy meats that got injured for a few months. Prisbeck, Titov, Shipley, Sibic. Don't know why my brain didn't register that. Lubala, Lawless, and Berahino all make up our bench. But without further ado, let's head on over and let's have that chitty chat with the lads. Okay, so it is of course time for our chitty chat with the lads. How are we going to go about this one? I think punch fist, a little bit of motivation. I expect to win. I know we're underdogs. Give the fans something. We're away from home. I expect a much better performance. Nobody gave... Actually, you know what? Let's get assertive. I expect to see a much better performance here today. Much better. Last game, absolutely terrible. As you can see, the lads agree. It was a terrible performance, hence they're now motivated to play a little bit better here today. We are, of course, taking on Graham Potter, Harry Potter's secret father, who actually did survive Voldemort attacking. He is, of course, the manager of Nottingham Forest here today. Birmingham's already gone 1-0 up against Hull City 3 minutes in as well. That is, of course, Franklin from Grand Theft Auto 5. And, well, Ipswich. Okay, I can't make a reference for him. Ipswich just 1-0 up against Leeds. Anyways, Millwall has just stuck the dagger into Blackburn at 1-0 as well, as they are, of course, trying to hold on to their playoff spot. And it's a header over the bar by Nottingham. So, hopefully, this balanced approach works. Like I said, it's not going to hurt us too much if we lose here today, but it would be nice to finish the season off on a good point. Bournemouth, by the way, 1-0 up against Pompey. They're managing to seal their title at the moment. Sheffield Wednesday, 1-0 up against Middlesbrough. Okay, that's an upset. But, as you can see, we've cruised into half-time with a 0-0 draw. Pretty boring first half and only one shot. Lads, I said we need to play better, not worse. So let's get assertive. You know what? We haven't had nearly enough shots. I am disappointed with that. That was terrible. One shot, and it wasn't even on target. Yeah, I don't think any team can be happy with that. Birmingham 2-1, by the way, now against Hull City. Bristol City 2-0 against QPR. We're approaching substitution time, and Derby County is now 3-1 at home to Barnsley. But There's a free kick here for Nottingham. We are going to take some substitutes in just a second, but Back is going to play it back as his name would suggest. It's a ball played back yet again to Worrell, but this time not from Back. Lovely. No, it looked like it was going to be a lovely interception by Rowley. What's the goalkeeper? What's the ref doing? He's running out with his arms out like he's a zombie. Like, rewind that and just look at how the ref ran around. He was literally running with his arms out like what's he doing? Anyways, weird bit of animation that. Nodded away, Worrell gets the ball, plays it up to Back. Nice slide tackle by Rowley, unfortunately falls back to Worrell and he gets it over to Back. Back plays it up to Valerie, not gonna sing it, going down the right hand side, whips it in. Oh, nice clearance by Adiapan, but unfortunately it's back to, you guessed it, Worrell yet again. He's had a lot to do in this game. The ball just seems to fall to him all the time. Donnelly though from range. Okay, Jamie, for a third goal of the season, that was filthy. I've got to give that a clap. If it actually had some sort of relevance to the season, then maybe I wouldn't be applauding it. But to be honest, beautiful finish. Beautiful finish. I think they're probably wondering why I can't do that more often, but look how well placed into the bottom corner it was. It looked like a bit of a scuffed kick, but the finish was nice. Very nice finish. So we are going to go attacking. What is the plan here? So we've got Byers who's tied. He's on a 6-3. Okay, Lawless can come on. No, Lawless actually. Sorry. Berahino can come on. He can slide up front. Berahino would like to be a deep line playmaker. You don't want to be an advanced forward. Fine, be a target man. Be a target man. Go attacking, target forward. Why not? Then, as you can see, Terry's having a rough game, but even worse, Klein. Klein really is not up to standard for this league. It's rather disappointing. Anyways, we're definitely going to have to find a left back for next season with a long-term injury to Fleming, and we're definitely going to need a striker for next season with our big Geffen Meat out injured as well. Thankfully, Williams has made his return, but he's not quite up to it yet, and there is a few players coming back, so we should be a bit stronger next season, but like I said, there's a couple of areas we know where we need to strengthen for next season, even if it's not for the longer term. Perhaps we'll bring in a loan at left back and a loan up front and buy some longer term players for other positions where we do need to strengthen for down the line. But right now, it's free kick to Nottingham. Can they grab themselves the second goal? Who knows? Well, he goes for goal and he goes wide of the goal. We do not mind that. So 20 minutes remain for us to try and grab an equaliser, but we've only had 2 shots so far this game and only one of them ended up on target. But Shipley's got throwing in a dangerous position, throws it into Rowley, back Shipley, tries the ball through, but he gives it away to Valerie, who then goes back to Worrell. Back now, up, the ball up to Amiga, not Omega 3. Ball over to Donnelly. Oh, lovely tackle by Shakin. Stevens falls to Terry. Rowley to Adiapan. And now we're just doing triangles at the back. You'd think we was in the lead the way it looks like we're burning the clock down, but no. We are still 1-0 down. Shipley coming down this. Okay, that was a terrible pass, Shipley. I don't care that you're mainly a centre-back. That was an awful pass. There's no excuse for that pass. Anyways, Bashiru is going to play it back. I'm not even going to attempt this guy's name. It's not that difficult, but Zemura is going to whip one in, and Amiga gets onto the end of it. So, I'm struggling to talk. The team is struggling to score, and certain teams are struggling to pick up a victory. QPR is definitely going to be relegated at this point. 6-point gap between them and Peterborough. I believe Middlesbrough did hold on to second place. We'll have a little check of that in the season review, because of course it will show us the league table and how everyone finished. But without further ado, let's head on over to said season review and see how we got on. Okay, ladies and gents, it is finally time to wrap up this season as we head on into the season review 2025-26 here in York. So, the new arrivals first of all. We've got Shakin Stevens topping the ranks, followed by Frankie Terry and Jamal George. Shamal George, he did have a few games where he wasn't particularly great, but as you can see, a 7.01 average rating throughout the season. He did a solid job. We raided the heck out of Colchester. As you can see, Frankie Terry and Shamal George coming from Colchester. One for 250 grand, the other for 325 grand, so we did pay them a reasonable bit of money for the pair, but I think they did a solid job for us here in the Championship. On top of them, we of course paid a little bit more for Leighton Orient, Shakin Stevens, 375 grand, but he was worth it. 7 assists. He did a fantastic job on that right hand side of defence. Between them, of course, half of our defence and our goalkeeper to add to our already good defence with Adiapan, Shipley, who we had in on loan, who we managed to bring in a bit. Was it permanent? I believe we brought him in permanent, didn't we, Shipley? Anyway, we got Shipley as well. We had a really solid defence. On top of that, we brought our big Geff meet in from Atlanta. We got Byers, who came in as well. White, then Civic. Sorensen were paid 210 grand for from Lincoln. A little bit disappointing. As you can see, only getting a 6.74. He didn't have a bad season. He was just not really worth the 210 grand we paid for him. Ian Hall, solid little youngster, 6'5", can do better going forward. That's mainly because we didn't start him that often. Yes, he got 11 games and 2 as a sub, but we of course did have Williams over on that wing. Jose Ayrton came in a little later, 6'5", not really lived up to what we've expected of him, but I think he will live up to it eventually. I think he's just going to slowly build into things similar to Hall and Sorensen. I think both of them eventually will be worth it in the long run, but for now just don't quite look like it. Klein has been a little bit of a waste of money though, 65 grand. We are paying him a decent wage as well, I believe. Yes, 4 grand to sit on our bench. He's down as a regular starter, but quite frankly, he's just not up to it. Yes, he's probably slightly better than Titov, but nowhere near as good as Shakin Stevens. 6.52 average rating, showing he really isn't a starter at this level. Best case scenario, he's a bit of cover from off the bench. So that is our new players in. Of course, we had a few players out. I don't usually go to this page, but Osu did a solid job. Billy Chadwick's having a solid season as well, Matt Connolly as well, on at different levels of course. Ollie Dyson on loan has been doing himself a fantastic time as well, and Zimba's not been too bad, 7 goals in 23 games. He's, as we saw, he was like a third choice player for us. A bunch of loans out who played decent. The main one of course was Crompton, but our loans developing quite nicely, although it looks like the board's not happy about us loaning out Crompton. I mean, we needed him to develop and wasn't going to put him in the first team. I think it was a pretty good decision. Anyways, on to the next part. A season to remember. It wasn't Middlesbrough who got that automatic promotion spot, by the way. Bournemouth sealed the title, followed by Fulham, who got an automatic spot. We then have playoffs for Middlesbrough, Stoke, Ipswich and Leeds. That's going to be rather spicy as Blackburn fell out on the last day of the season. QPR, Portsmouth and Swansea, of course, got relegated. We was expected to fight bravely against relegation, but we found ourselves all the way up in 10th and okay, 9 points behind the playoffs. Not too bad. As you can see, not too many draws. Few too many for my liking. I would have liked us to be a bit more like Blackburn's, where they had 9, lost 1 less, won the rest instead of drawing, but as you can see, average home attendance, by the way, 8,436, 99% of our capacity, so perhaps we might need a bigger stadium going forward. Our big Gerfie meet, of course, was our top goal scorer with 17 goals, although that I don't think would have been the case if Williams wasn't injured for so long. I think he would have maintained it and kept a hold of that top goal scorer, so it's going to be great to see those two battle it out next year. We then have the FA Cup, which was expected to just be competitive. We'll reach the 3rd round, but it was knocked out by West Ham, which I think is reasonable. A 2-1 loss to them at home. Again, good attendance in that one. Samuel Votes, only 1 goal, was our top goal scorer. I guess we just spread our goals out in that competition. Oh no, sorry. third round. We went into the third round. Literally the first round was in. So, knocked out straight away. Second round minimum for the Carabao Cup, and that is what we did. Was knocked out by Leicester in the end away. 1-0 again, a result I don't think we can be too upset with. The Oldham result is a little upsetting. I don't think a 2-2 draw having to go into extra time and I want to say penalties perhaps in that one. I can't quite remember, but that's a little bit disappointing. Goss and Phillips being our top goal scorers in that with 1 apiece as well. But our moments to remember. The biggest win was against Bournemouth, the team that ended up being the champions. So we've got the ability to beat the best of the best. It's just we slipped up against some teams which, relatively speaking, we should have been able to beat based off our season. Start of the season, obviously we would have expected to struggle against those teams, so it was a rather mixed bag this season. Very good season still, finishing up in 10th, miles above expectation. But like I said, when you take into account our biggest win was 3-1 against Bournemouth, I think we had an opportunity to beat some of those teams. Match to remember though was the 3-2 victory away to Sunderland, and of course the goal of the season was in the 2-2 draw at home to Luton. That of course was Williams on the 43rd minute, who pulled us our first goal back as we turned round a 2-goal deficit, and well, it looked like this. Okay, so I have to be honest, that was a rather pathetic goal of the season. I think we probably had some better goals than that. I like the dribbler against Posh, for example, otherwise known as Peterborough, of course. Don't know how their nickname raced into my brain first, but when we versed Peterborough, that little dribbler that the big gay for me got, the one where I'm like, just chase it down, go poke it in the net, make sure it gets there. That one, yeah, I think that was a better goal, but heck, that's the goal the game decided to choose. Now, in terms of club reputation, we're still 2.5 star. Sponsorship deals, there's no new ones, no notable deals in sponsorship. Our sponsorship is up, though it is up from 66.25 grand last season to 261. Much bigger league, of course, hence much more sponsorship. We've also had a bunch of TV games, hence why our broadcast revenue went from 523,000 to 2.72 million. Corporate and hospitality from 391k to 506. Competitive prize money is down though, 82,730 last season. Absolutely nothing. It was rather disappointing, although like I said, we played some teams we should have got knocked out against, whereas in previous seasons we had to build our way through. We had to play through the first round of the FA Cup second round and work our way up into that third round, and by that time we had earned a little bit of prize money. We also had other competitions like the Papa John's Trophy, for example. We then have match day, commercial and retail. That's down just a little bit from 520 grand to 406. I think that's more to do with you're expected to be struggling this season, whereas last year was expected to be doing pretty well. I wouldn't say was expected, but was more likely to have a better season, whereas this season it was, you're probably going to be down near the bottom. Am I really going to buy a shirt? Maybe. Anyway, merchandise, total merchandise sales was 305 grand, non-domestic was 30,530. Kind of curious to what those countries are. For a little bit more lore, I think for the lore aspects, new FM games should really give a breakdown of where those domestic ones are. For example, if this was Manchester United, a lot of those would be in Asian countries where those non-domestic sales are. I think it would be just interesting if you did a bit more of a breakdown, so it was like, okay, you're selling 20,000 in China and £1,000 worth in France. You know, give it a bit more colour to it. It doesn't necessarily have to make complete sense, but just a little bit more colour to that element. Anyways, shirt sales, 3,819 have been sold. The big names, of course, was the Big Gurphy Meat, because who doesn't want to have Big Gurphy Meat written on the back of their shirts? Number 88. Williams, unlucky for some, who's number 13. Byers, number 8. Sorensen, I think that's less to do with the fact that he's been playing well and the fact that he's number 69. Weiss, of course, making his return to English football with number 40. I believe his shirt number for Man City, if I remember correctly, that's the one I gave him. Anyways, So, how you lined up the 4-2-3-1, of course. I would say it was more biased than Lawless, but I guess Lawless did have to cover quite a few games. So that is how it looks. 17 goals for the big Geoff Meat, 12 for Jaden Williams, and then everyone else really needs to catch up quite a bit. Shakin Stevens with the most assists on 7, 5 for Lawless. Lawless had a decent time, 5 assists and 4 goals, did a little bit of everything. Okay, Accolades, Sky Bets League 1 Manager of the Year. That of course is from last season when we got promoted, but it's got that delayed sending. Record breakers, I should say, highest transfer fee paid, with of course that for Shakin Stevens over to Leighton Orient, 379 grand. Club Awards, your fan player of the season is Will Adiapan, the 21 is only 21. This is crazy. It feels like he's been around forever, but 21 years of age. He's also our young player of the season. Signing of the season goes to Shamal George. Goal of the season goes to Jaden Williams. Top goal scorer goes to Big Geoff Meat. The goal of the season, like I previously said, don't think it should have gone to Jaden Williams, it should have gone to Big Geoff Meat for his goal. Anyway, top goal scorer goes to him for his 17 goals, most assists for Shakin Stevens with 7. 4 player of the matches is the most for Will Adiapan. Highest average rating is Will Adiapan on a 7.3. I can see why he's asking for a new contract. I believe he's only on about 2,000. So, he has been our best performer by quite a bit. Being paid probably about 4-ish grand less than highest pay. No, sorry, it's probably near 5 grand. I think we've got someone on about 7 grand. So, most passes completed per 90. That goes to Gus of all people, which is a surprise. I guess that's because he only played 1 or 2 games and he just passed a lot in those games, but he got 79 per 90 minutes. In terms of competition awards, the Sky Bet League 1 Player of the Year goes to Will Adiapan again, much like the manager one, delayed by a year. So it means next year he's probably going to have the Sky Championship one, since he's probably favourite for that, and he might even have the youth one as well for the Championship when I next do a season review. But that is the end of this season review. I thank you all for joining us on this season. I thank you for joining us on the previous seasons. As I said in the intro, you've all been amazing. I hope you all have a lovely night, and goodbye.